What's going on, guys? Troy and Mountain Man Treasure here, and something a little different tonight. We're going on a ghost hunt. So it's become, I guess, a tradition here on the channel, at least 2 years running. I guess that makes it a tradition to go on a ghost hunt for Halloween and record what I find and then put together a video. And last year we did that at the old Montana State Prison and recorded, well, some ridiculous stuff. It's worth going back. And so we went back again to the old Montana State Prison, got locked in, didn't get out of there until 5 a.m. and didn't get the same stuff that we got a year ago. Couldn't get into some of the same buildings that we did last year, but you know what? I got some incredible stuff. This is going to be a cool show. Thanks for riding along with us. Let's check it out. There she is, the old Montana State Prison. It's gonna look a lot different in about 4 hours. Right across the street, though, this used to be the home of the warden. And I believe this was the warden's garage. And at some point in the prison's history, they actually moved the female prisoners over to this building. It was after the earthquake. Some of the buildings there were pretty much made uninhabitable. So they moved maximum security into where the women were staying, and the women moved initially across the street over here to this building. They stayed upstairs over what was his garage. Have you ever had anything happen over here that you can't figure out?
No.
Everything's all normal over here.
It's all normal here, but my sister doesn't think so.
Really? What has she told you?
Oh, well, it's kind of funny. I went downstairs. One day she did, and the door shut behind her and locked. But it would lock anyway if the door was shut. So she was there hollering at me, trying to get out.
So somebody shut the door on her?
Oh, I think
she says?
The wind, I'll tell you that, but I don't know.
So what do you think over there? Have you ever been over there and done any of the ghost stuff or anything like that? Or
I haven't.
What do you think about it all? Do you believe in anything that's going on? Or
I'm not real into that, no. But yeah, a lot of people are. They'll come over and tell me a story or two.
I suppose you've heard a lot of stories.
Well, a few. Yeah.
And none of them have convinced you yet?
No, not really.
Well, you've got to be like that, I think, to probably work across the street.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So Arlene was not too sure about all this ghost talk, right? Didn't buy it. But she herself admitted she'd never been across the street after the sun had gone down. Now, someone who has been across the street after the sun has gone down several times is Ellen Baumler. Ellen is a Montana historian. She worked for the State Historical Society for more than 2 decades. She's also the author of more than a dozen books, about half of those on various ghost stories in Montana. And what she does, she tells the stories a little bit differently. She looks at it from the historical angle, and she hears the ghost story and says, okay, can I tie this to an actual person, to an actual event? Can I find documents that make this story sound right? It's really, really interesting. She's also written a book about the Montana State Prison. Not a ghost book, just about the history of the prison.
Even into the mid-20th century, it was a really archaic place. And there was minimal amenities. I mean, the place must have stunk something terrible. There were, I mean, the men had to take showers, but there were only a few of those in a different building. And they were you know, there was absolutely no privacy whatsoever. And the guards were watching everything. And I think, you know, the prisoners were mistreated. I mean, there's no question about that. It was a terrible, terrible place to be.
And so if there was a place that was going to be haunted, you know, it would stand to reason that there's a lot of emotion in a place like that.
There's a huge amount of emotion, and even people who spent time there and got out, they left pieces of themselves there. You know, you didn't just go there and then get out and rehabilitate. It was like, you know, trauma that you just simply couldn't get rid of. And it was a horrible, horrible place. And even guards have told me, you know, that it was a place that was not a 20th century place. It was like it was in the 19th century.
Now, Ellen has told me several stories about the prison, some of them personal stories. And in fact, one time, her daughter was setting up a tripod to take photos. There's a lot of photos of the prison in her book, and they had a professional photographer there, but the daughter was helping set up equipment. She was under the stairs in maximum security, and it was summer, and she was wearing like a light blouse, and said she felt a hand go up her back, and completely freaked her out. Of course, went and talked with the folks in the gift shop. They were the only ones there, and they said, oh yeah, that happens here. She stayed, to her credit, and finished the photo shoot, but she did not go back to that spot, and I don't blame her. You'll see later on, we actually visit maximum security, but right now I'm getting ready to enter into the cell block. Now, this is still at the very, very beginning of this whole thing, and the way it starts is with, we had a couple dozen people, and usually you don't record a whole lot when there's that many people, just because there's a lot of noise contamination, a lot of things moving around, but that wasn't the case this time. We got some great stuff. Now, this is as I'm walking into the cell of Stanley Dean Baker. Stanley Dean Baker was a murderer. He killed a hitchhiker and ate his heart. And when they found him, he had the guy's finger bones. Some stories say in a pouch around his neck, others say in his pocket, but he had the bones of this guy. He was a self-professed devil worshiper. When the moon was full, he would scream and yell and howl. He went around the prison trying to basically recruit people into his devil worship. This was a scary guy. And so I went into his cell block, or his cell on the 3rd tier. And I'd been there before, so I knew where his cell was. Actually, it's not that hard to pick out if you're looking for it, because there's a drawing of a horned devil that he put on the wall. So definitely a creepy cell. The air in that cell, it feels different. It just feels different in that cell than it does in all the others. In fact, in that cell, there are reports from other people throughout the years of hearing what sounds like a deep-throated growl from a dog. Think like Doberman Pinscher, something like that. Like think that deep. I've heard that in this prison. Not this time, but I've heard that before. Not too far, actually, from this cell. So watch here as I enter into the cell. There's some background noise, and you can hear me. I kind of take a deep breath because, like I said, the air in there, it just felt heavy. And I take a deep breath, and immediately after, well, here. I can't remember this guy's name. Okay, so let me turn it up a little bit. I'll turn it up, we'll play it back, and you tell me what you think you hear. What did I hear? I heard, have to take it with them. That's very sharp, very, have to take it with them. And we're not done in the cell block. Not at all. In fact, I've been to some haunted places over the last 5-6 years. And I've never recorded something that really caught me so off guard. Never something, you know, you get surprised, you get, you know, wait, I didn't hear that. What was that? This evidence right here, this is something different. This is something that I've watched over and over and over, and I can't explain it. Now, what's going on here is we're still in a group together, and the thinking is, let's sing, okay? They turn music on, and the idea is everybody's all together in one group. Let's ramp up the energy in this place and see if everybody's singing a song, putting that vibe out into the air. See if that can't charge things up and see what happens, right? It sounds a little different, right? It feels a little weird, but it worked. It worked. Watch, this is just a short clip. Of course, we're singing Journey. Why wouldn't you sing Journey? The only other song that I would sing, and there's Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash actually played the old Montana State Prison in Deer Lodge. Maybe we should play some Johnny Cash up there, but we played Journey. And what you're going to see here is I'm standing in Stanley Dean Baker's cell. I'm standing immediately into the doorway, a little out into the catwalk. Now, this is a path that's wide enough to walk down, but not much wider. And there's a railing, but the railing is about waist high. So just your natural inclination, you kind of hug the cell wall a little bit. That's the side that you walk on. And it's dark, completely dark. You need a flashlight up there, especially because you know you're on the 3rd level and it's a short railing. You're going to walk around with a flashlight. And it's a metal walkway. It makes noise when you walk on it. So remember, I'm on the 3rd level right now, feet sticking out into the hallway just a little bit. And we're singing, okay? Watch the lights. You saw that, right? I didn't see it while I was there, but I saw it immediately while I was watching the video as I was going back. Now, this GoPro is stationary. It's strapped to me. There's nothing that's going to be in front of it. No camera strap, no anything like that. And if you watch, something comes by, completely blocks out the lights, meaning it walked right in front of me. It solid of some kind, you know, or at least had mass, I don't know, but it completely blocks out the lights. Now, if you watch it, it looks like it moves left to right into the frame pretty quickly, and it gets about 1/3 of the way through and actually speeds up. So there's actually 2 speeds. It gets partway through to where it's basically right in front of me, and then speeds up out of the frame. So you tell me, not a person. I remember somebody walking right in front of my face. Again, no noise, no flashlight. Everybody's stationary at this point. Everybody is spread out, and really there are only 6 people maybe up on the 3rd level. Most people stuck down on the floor. And so nobody walked past me. I didn't see it at the time, but there's very clearly something there. People talk about shadow people or shadow figures. I think we got one on tape. Oh, and turns out seeing shadows move, shadow people even, not necessarily uncommon at the prison. How about this conversation with Lisa? Lisa runs the events there. She's the events coordinator, and she also gives daytime tours at the Montana State Prison, or old Montana State Prison. And she's got some stories.
There is a shadow that sits on the edge of the cement slab that will jump through the wall into the theater.
And have you seen this?
Yes.
What is it? A defined figure, or is it just like really blurry shadow, or is it?
It looks like a defined figure, and you can see it crouching on the edge of the cement slab and then jumping into the wall of the theater.
So you see this like daytime, nighttime, anytime?
I saw it at night.
Okay.
Just once.
And you still work here?
Yes.
We're getting ready to leave. I'd actually turned off the GoPro at this point. I do have audio, but I can just tell you the story. The man was talking, was explaining to folks. You couldn't hardly hear him on the third level, but you could hear him just enough. And as he's talking, a clock starts going off, like an alarm clock that would be hanging on your grandmother's wall, right? The dong, dong, dong. It's 10 o'clock. It goes off 10 times. The only thing is, this clock is on the wall on the first floor. It's all barred off, and it's basically to give you an idea of what one of the prison guards' desks would have looked like at the time. And so it's all walled off. You can't go in there and touch anything. So nobody can go in and wind this clock. But 10 o'clock on the dot, after, you know, the singing and we saw the shadow, right, and all that, it goes off. I made it a point to go back into the cell block on just ahead of the hour 3 times during the night. It never went. It didn't ring the rest of the night. It didn't ring at 9 o'clock. It didn't ring at 12. Didn't ring at 1. That clock did not go off the rest of the night, but randomly it goes off at 10 o'clock when we're all in there. It's weird. I actually talked with one of the tour guides. He said in his 2 years at the prison, he's never heard it go off once. Are you making it get colder in here? So now we move into the former library. Now, this is a place that I would swear in a court of law that last year something touched me on my head. The weirdest feeling I've ever experienced. And this is an area where a lot of bad things happened in this area while the prison was running. This was a little bit of a don't ask, don't tell area. The guards would turn a blind eye to stuff that happened here. So a lot of bad things happened in the library area. It's an area where, of everywhere in the entire place, this is the one spot where I don't feel comfortable. Where it's like when you walk into somebody else's house and they're not there. That weird, like, I don't know if I belong here. I don't know if I should be going, in their space. That's what it feels like. It feels like to me that I am not wanted in there. It's a weird, it's not something that I can measure. It's not something that I can record and show you, but it's a weird feeling. As soon as I walk in there, I feel like I'm not supposed to be there. And I felt that again this year. That's the only place. Is there anything that's ever really scared you here?
The feeling sometimes. You might feel a really negative presence, or they don't want you there, and that's scary.
I got last year, in addition to that weird experience, we got pretty significant temperature drops in there last year, and this is an interior room. There's no draft coming through there, so it's interesting. That happened again. Check this out.
Yes.
And it just got colder.
And you continue to make it colder here.
Spirits, do you like it when we come to talk to you? I think that was yes. Do you ever get to see your family? Deandra. Okay.
And it wasn't just the temperature change. I actually got an EVP in there. Again, I only heard this because it was turned way up. Now, this is a group setting, and so, you know, there's going to be people out there that say, hey, you know, that was just somebody else in the group. You know what? And I can't prove that it wasn't, but this is very, very quiet, but very, very clear. I had to turn this thing up very loudly just to make it out, but it's very distinct. You can hear what they're saying. This is a point where the leader is saying that she can't see somebody, and there is a very quietly whispered response.
Somebody else call Mom, 'cause I can't see her. Somebody else call Mom, 'cause I can't see her.
How about another EVP? I don't know what this says. I know what I think it says, but it doesn't make any sense. But there's definitely something there and a little bit of a creepy, whispery noise here.
Are you being shy?
Okay, so now we move up to what's called the Death Tower. This is where there was a riot at one point at the prison. They took over the prison. Ultimately, the National Guard used a bazooka to blow a hole in. They overtook the prison eventually. Well, this tower is where the two men that were behind the riot, that were leading it all, they realized that this was not going to end well for them, and it was a murder-suicide up there. And so that's why they call this the Death Tower. And it's multiple flights up, and it's a weird place. It's a creepy place, knowing what happened there. So pulled out a device that essentially what it does is it's downloaded a sound bank from the internet. And then also like internet radio stations. So it's got a very big library. And then it's disconnected when it's in use. It's disconnected from the internet. It's just a tablet now. There's no connection. It's airplane mode, all that. It connected to a speaker. Now, a lot of times this device, I have a hard time hearing what it says because it comes out kind of distorted, kind of warbly. And I think that leads to some people, one person can hear one thing, one person can hear another, and the third person goes, I didn't hear anything. And the right answer could be either of those, any of those, right? But sometimes you get pretty clear answers, and here are a few of them that we got.
However, if it says ping pong table, probably not an intelligent response. Something else to be aware of with this is there's multiple energies and spirits here. They're talking to each other. You may not be privy to that conversation. Is there a spirit or entity here that would like to talk with us?
Yes, there is.
Yes, there is. Did anyone hear that? So I will take that as an intelligent response. And then I'll just flip this, try to get this in there.
How many spirits are here with us?
Several.
I pass.
Okay. You hear the phone? Did you guys hear that?
Yeah.
Who's next?
Do you feel trapped on Earth?
Now, not too long into this conversation with something we can't see, we did, it sounds like, get sort of a directive, and I don't think anybody really understood what it said at the time. I didn't, and I'm pretty sure I hear "get out" when I am reviewing now. What do you guys hear?
Are you able to leave this location?
It sounds like "get out," right? I think that's "get out." Now, nobody heard that, so we went on for a few minutes. And then we got an even more clear directive. There is no doubt what this says.
Okay, we will. Okay, that's our cue.
When something you can't see tells you to leave, you pack up, you leave. And so that's what we did. We did go to a different location. It was actually part of the former medical wing. And we got some interesting results there as well.
My name's Jennifer.
I already know.
Sorry.
Yeah.
We go way back. My name's Jennifer.
All right, you guys can see in here now. Admittedly, it feels a little better with the light on. I don't think the horseshoes are supposed to be upside down like that. Jeez, there's a freaking mannequin in there. That's locked. Back in here. Jesus, that's terrifying. There it is. All right. Starting a session in Siberia. That's what they called it. It's essentially solitary confinement. This is not a very big room. I guess the toilet would have been there. And maybe they got a mattress here. I don't know. But there's no heat in here, no light in here. Pretty bleak. So I've got a knife sitting over there. Probably would have been pretty helpful in a place like this, right? I don't know if you wanted to try to grab it. So yeah, prisoners that were tossed into Siberia, that they had maximum, they had solitary. This was like the worst of the worst places to get thrown. Maybe the hole was worse. There's actually a guy that died in there, and varying stories about how that happened. But Siberia was pretty brutal. That was a pretty awful place. And I was trying anything in there, tried trigger objects. I was just trying anything because at this point I wasn't physically seeing a lot happen, and I was getting a little frustrated. And so that's when I went to the whole tapping thing, right? Like tap twice for yes, once for no. And so I thought, let's give this a shot. And I did not get a conversation here, but I did record what I believe is what they call residual hauntings or residual energy. I don't think this was an intelligent response to anything. I don't think anything. This was something that happens in a place over and over and over again. The idea is that sort of embeds itself in that place. That sort of becomes part of that place, that energy. So, if a person, maybe, a woman sits in her rocking chair every single day at a certain time every day and reads her book, there just may be a chance that energy, because it happens over and over and over again, some of that energy stays behind. That's the theory. I think that's what we got here.
Are you okay with me being here? Remember, yes. It's 2 taps, no. It's 1. Anybody else over in here right now? Some footsteps.
And that one, weird. That was audible. I heard that. It was absolutely footsteps. You might have to crank your volume to hear it, but it was absolutely, I thought it was 6. I've listened to it on the studio speakers at my radio station. I think I hear 7, actually. The first 3 or so, pretty loud. One of them, I think, right outside of the cell I was in. These were heavy boots walking on concrete. There was nobody there, and I know what a footstep sounds like. That was a footstep. I can't explain it, but I recorded it. It's there. And interestingly, anybody that does YouTube stuff that uses the GoPro, those batteries do tend to get sucked down pretty well. But generally, my batteries last between about 90 minutes and 2 hours, pretty much all the time. I mean, I know that's how much I'm going to get out of them. I had just put a new battery in before I went into Siberia. When I came out, about 20 minutes later, I glanced down. It was at 3%. 3%. Like the entire battery got sucked out. Now, there is the theory that when paranormal energy manifests, when stuff happens, it can suck energy out from various sources around it, including batteries. So, again, not something I can measure or prove or point to and say, see, there you go. But pair it with everything else, it's interesting. Now, another thing that I don't have solid proof of this. I have some proof, and I'll show that to you. But let me tell you the story of what happened here, and you be the judge. But this is right after leaving Siberia. I'm walking across the courtyard. This is on the far side of the compound, on the very edge. And you have to walk, kind of wind your way through a couple of buildings and then walk through the prison, part of the prison wall. and then you cross a courtyard, and there's the main buildings over there. Well, I'm going over to get a new battery is what the plan was. I glance over and I see right over here that the moon is peeking out from some clouds right behind one of the guard towers. And I thought it looked cool. And so I did just kind of stop and I looked at it and then turned back to keep walking down the sidewalk. And something caught my eye. There was I caught a light out of the corner of my eye. And so I look over there and there is, sure enough, I'm seeing it with my own two peepers. There is a glowing ball of light against the prison wall. It's mostly moving in a straight line about midway up the wall. It's a pretty tall wall, right? It's a prison wall. It's moving across. And right about the time that I fully turn and look at it, it turns and starts coming toward me. Now, my GoPro's dead, right? It's not, you know, I don't have video, and that's the frustrating thing. But I did have my phone, so I pulled out my phone as I started seeing this, and I took photos. And I'm going to show them to you here after this, but I'll explain to you what you're seeing in the sequence. The first is a little bit blurry because I hit the, you know, I was basically hitting the button as I put it in front of me. And you can see this glowing ball of light against the prison wall. Now, this is not a flashlight. This is not, nobody else. This is about 3:30 in the morning at this point. There are two other women left, and they are in another section because I had passed them. I knew where they were. They're in a completely other section. Plus, you would see the beam go across the grass, right? You can see, you can tell what a flashlight looks like when it's shining on something. This is not that. And it's moving from my left to right. Now, I have another series of, I think it's 3 photos. We'll see here. It turns and heads straight towards me. And it turns from a white to almost a bluish green looking light. And I'm snapping photos. You can look at the timestamps of photos. And so when I imported them, I was looking at the timestamps. They were all roughly 5 seconds apart. And that's how long it takes. You hit the button and it tries to focus. It flips on the flash, takes a picture, you know, that process. So they're all about 5 seconds apart. You see this ball of light partway across the grass, farther across the grass, farther across the grass. It's coming straight at me. Now, I flipped it to video, thinking on my phone, maybe I can try and get it on video. You barely see something as it's literally right in front of me, and it's flitting about a little bit. And then my camera on its own. Now, you have to, you guys, when you're videotaping, you know, on your phone, you use your thumbs and you slide apart. That zooms in, right? I wasn't doing that, wasn't touching the screen. It zoomed in on its own, and then it stopped. So I only got a few seconds, and then as it stopped, again, in court, hand on the Bible, I got so cold. Now, this was, it was about 65 degrees out at this point. Now, some of you in the South are going, yeah, that's cold. No, I was wearing a hoodie the whole night because it was very comfortable. That's not cold here in Montana. Didn't even put on my jacket, just wore my hoodie all night. It was a very nice night. And it was like somebody opened the door to a deep freeze. And I was just, I was very, very cold. Shivers, goosebumps. It left very quickly, but it just hit me. And all of a sudden I was freezing, and then I was fine. Other than being a little freaked out. You know, I stood there for about 30 seconds looking around, trying to figure out where I was, what was going on. It was a weird experience. I can't explain it, but I can show you what I have. There are the photos.
I can't see it without the flash.
So I guess you be the judge, right? There is no of this world explanation for what I saw, let alone what I felt. But maybe there's an explanation that is not of this world. I can't make that decision for you, so it's up to you to decide. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. This was a lot of fun playing with the light. I know it's casting weird shadows. I've got the eyebrows going on. I get it. I know, but it's all in fun. So this was an incredible night at the prison once again. We'll do something again next year if you guys like this one. We'll definitely go either back to the prison. We could do that if you want me to go back, or I can go somewhere else as well. Plenty of haunted places in Montana, so I can go somewhere else and see what happens. It was a fun night. I think we got some incredible stuff. Shadow, the whispers, the boot steps, the ball. The place is haunted. That's my vote. Anyway, that's it for tonight, guys. But before we leave, little outtake from when I was shooting the intro. We'll see you. Okay, you guys all comment how I can't get away from petting the animals, even when I'm shooting an intro about ghosts. There's a black cat over here. We're gonna go say hi. Hi. Wow.
You're not gonna take that one home and make a sacrifice of it, are you?
That's what I was thinking.
Hi, buddy. Meow. What's up, bud?
Say hi to the people.